with that space in yourself, which is truly yours and yours alone. And that's your individuality. And that is one doorway to connect with the source. That space, that's your light. That's your inner light, your essential space, your origin.
And you mentioned attention also, and to me a little bit awareness is about, it's also about, focus and as you said, attention, meaning that when you're not aware, you're a little bit lazy almost. That's the way I would put it. I don't know if that's the correct word, or if you would phrase it like that.
Well, you can allow yourself to kind of be beat down by the inertia of kind of the mass consciousness or the TV consciousness, or all the pressure is to kind of give in a little bit and just let it all fly or whatever, and that's kind of what the awareness is, like the fish swimming upstream, I guess. We're going back up the chain and we have to overcome the inertia or the momentum in the other direction. And when you're saying about the attention, I'll say one way I look at it too sometimes is like being like a cat, where a cat's at rest, essentially, really relaxed, but in a moment's notice, they can jump to complete attention and have their whole energy ready to just fly into action, because your awareness was observing it all along, and the awareness has complete mastery over all the energies related to the body and can just decide in an instant to marshal all its resources if it needs to. But then why waste the energy when there is no threat, essentially?
Sure.
You release. That's one of the biggest things, I guess, that I've learned over the years, to release. Just let it all just flow out, to be in complete relaxation, and partly that space makes it possible because no matter what's going on, or how crazy the world is and your life is and everything else, you can still get into that inner space that knows that whatever happens, even if the universe itself were to suddenly shatter into pieces and disappear and you still were awareness, you'd still just sit there watching, in that space you can release, just let the body just and then experience maybe a little bit of peace, let it go and relax, enjoy, have some peace, and have some time to yourself. I think that's a key, is to make sure you value that personal time. Everyone takes a little time for themselves.
Right. So this is also about having, I guess, contact with yourself, meaning that you're not off somewhere other. When you mentioned the analogy of the cat there, my sense of it is that this is also about kind of knowing yourself and having that contact with yourself, so you can instantly connect with yourself basically, and your body then of course too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to something we've talked about in the past, where we have all these impulses put into us by different people in the course of our life growing up. We all have that. Different people tell us, and it could be even good values, so to speak,
right.
a moral system, or, a certain way of looking at this or that or the other thing. And all that stuff gets put into us, and then maybe we lose touch with where it came from and think that is ourselves compelling us forward, but in effect it's actually just our environment. And so at some point you have to find all that stuff that wasn't if you're in search of your nature, your inner heart, your true calling, that's one of the first things you got to do, is see that which was superimposed on your reality by the outside, and then get that space from it. kind of release that. And then, I mean, the tricky thing is it puts you back. You no longer are compelled forward by those things, and you have to then decide for yourself what the next step is. It's totally then in your hands to make of it what you will.
Interesting.
At that point.
And to bring oneself into the present, that's obviously different. It's different for everyone. What makes that, or how that works for an individual. What helps for you to kind of to bring you back, so to speak, into the present when you kind of meander off somewhere, either if it's in your thoughts or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did myself is I almost create these little wedges in my thought process where I'll remember something and I'll bring it back again and again, like remember, especially initially I did that, like remember myself. So establish like a forward flow of thought, I guess, that then resisted the fall back, so because whatever is in your mind is going to cycle around. See, these things are kind of just keep cycling around, and so if you put in a little notion to yourself to remember yourself in with all that stuff, well, then that's going to cycle back around. So then every once in a while you're going to have that come around, and you're going to remember yourself, and then you can bring yourself back, or I started bouncing off of things. Like this was something I picked up from, I think the Thich Nhat Hanh books, of like, say, when I faced adversity, such as waiting in a line or at a red light, or something was upsetting me, to then use that as a call to attention.
Right.
Rather than be angry. Bring it into my awareness.
So you can use that. You can use that in a way. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it. Rather than getting down about it or thinking that things are against you, I guess you use it to remember yourself, and because essentially whatever's happening on the outer world, like there's always going to be ups and downs or round and rounds or this or that happening. So if you're gonna just ride with that, you're setting yourself up to be upset. It's inevitable that if you ride along with that, you're going to be upset. But if you control your own destiny, you keep it in your own hands and keep that watchfulness where you're just presence, and again, you're going to experience it on a human level too, and you experience it very deeply and very powerfully from that state of awareness. They both exist simultaneously. You're in that space of watching all, and not to mention that you're also between the space of watching and that 3D outer world. You're going to get tons of other inputs, tons of other. You're basically opening your energy to a whole other frequency range. I've heard many teachers talk about it like the radio, where you tune into a frequency, and there's higher frequencies, there's lower frequencies. Well, from that watchful state, when you unravel all the mess that has you entangled, because here's the next level. Okay, so we've established kind of the physical world ties. Well, there's also astral ties as well. There's much karma that goes into the astral regarding the way from the watcher on down, because we get out of the entanglements of one life, start working into our soul. Well, then we start dealing with a whole other set of issues, our entire journey, our broader life lessons, and what it's going to take to purify your soul, your being, because you feel at that point, you will feel a yearn. The reason you will find the soul or reconnect with the soul is because you'll feel that inner calling or that inner urge. So you're also going to, now this is kind of, I guess, you can look at it both ways, from the physical body 3D out to the higher vibrations, or also from the higher vibrations on down into the body, and But all along those vibrations, you're going to get messages from, you might be able to suddenly contact or feel like this could also happen in the dream state. You'll in a dream connect to someone you love who's passed over. You'll have a dream of them and you'll remember it, and it'll have meaning and it'll have substance. Well, you watch those dreams too, and pretty soon your waking state and your dream state won't seem that different, because it's all phenomenon. And so you just let it all pass through. That's why the image of the mirror, because if you let it pass through, you still hear it, you still know of it, and so you'll know all the physical world phenomenon, and you also get all the psychic phenomenon, or most importantly, your intuition, space for your inner knowing, your just sense of how things should be. People may call it sixth sense, but it's real and it's important, and it changes the whole approach and attitude towards living in the world. So we need to make space for all these things in all these different ways, and still watch it.
Yeah, nice. I mean, this is also about, well, I guess we could talk a little bit about the inner discovery, or knowing yourself, or being, I guess, excuse me, in tune with your own intuition and the knowledge of that, because again, there are different kinds of knowledge. We have the 3D or the book knowledge of something, but then I guess we also have the inner knowledge, or the knowledge about your own intuition, right?
Yeah, I guess that's another thing that good point. We definitely should illustrate that, because the book knowledge, or whatever, the knowledge in the brain, or the knowledge that we read or think about, that all happens in the mental realm, and it reduces. It's just information, and it's fine. We just don't want to be completely absorbed in it. That's the whole point. It's just to get space from it, and it has all the best qualities it ever did before.
Right.
But we just are no longer immersed in it and define ourselves.
We're changing our perspective of it also, I guess. Yeah.
Well, definitely, because then we're no longer kind of running our perspective through filters. We're just seeing it for what it is, just like everything else. I mean, we have all these historical time currents, this happens, that happens, this culture, that culture.
Right.
And now we're having kind of an implosion of all that, where everything that ever happens, we're having to deal with at once. Well, we need that ability to just observe it from afar more than ever, or else it'll drive us crazy. It'll drive you berserko, because it's just too much to process, in a way. If you sit and try to think about it all, in a way, it just doesn't. It ends up being a big blah. It doesn't make any sense in a way, unless you get that kind of space where you realize it's all just different manifestations of energy through different, whatever the psychology is, through this issue or that issue, caused by this or that suffering, caused by each other one way or another. It's just it's not that hard to figure out in a way. It's just like, okay, I see that point, and still just kind of just knowing that, then you don't have to be bound into that so much,
Right.
So that, I guess that inner knowing, that intuitive sense, it doesn't come to you in the same place as the information plane. Even like what I said before, where if you get a message or something from an astral entity, or, whatever you call it, an angel or a guide, or just simply a friend on the other side, wants to send something to you somehow, and you pick it up or whatever, still basically they imprint upon your imagination or your own frame of reference to convey the message.
So something is going to be delivered to you in such a way that you can, it's going to be contextual for you, so to speak, meaning that you're going to, take the references that you need to put the picture together of the message. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is one way that a manifestation of the, yeah, I'm saying that astral communication still happens in the place of the mind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And